far behind. Remember you and I would always find somewhere to hide when we were kids, so we could see and hear the water run. The river's gonna cry when you're gone.
Hi everyone. When you retire solo, you enter a whole new season of life. You have an incredible amount of freedom, and you also have a huge amount of empowerment. There's no one telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. It really is up to you. But I believe that with that freedom and with that empowerment, it pays us well to have a certain amount of awareness of all types of things that could change those circumstances. We should be wise about our finances, the types of people that we allow into our life, and also some of the negative things out there that are trying to impact our ability to continue to enjoy our freedom in our retirement years. And I want to talk about all of that in this video. This should not be taken as a negative thing or as a scary thing. I believe that knowledge equals peace of mind. I've always been a huge learner. Anything that really scares me, I like to find out more about it, how the process works. It could be running a marathon. You could be scared about running for that many kilometers. But if you break it down into steps and you find out more about it, perhaps the concept isn't as scary. And so this is where I want this video to go. I want us to discuss some of these things out there that impact us as solo women who are in a certain age or in our retirement, and break those things down a little bit so that we're aware and we can face them with a little bit more knowledge. Hi, my name is Reina, and this is Small Retired Life. On my channel, we talk about the ups and the downs of being retired, living our life in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. If you're new, welcome here. The fact is that many of the challenges that face us solo women or solo people in retirement are not always in your face. They kind of sneak in quietly and sneak up on us without us being aware. And so I want to bring some of these things up so that we all have a little bit of knowledge, or at least consider some of these things when we're thinking about how we retire, when we retire, and how we kind of manage through our retirement years. These things aren't always financial, but finances play a big role. Let me give you an example. When I used to work in the capital markets, I worked in investor relations for a very large company whose shares were held by many people. And they also paid dividends. So there was a lot of retired folks that held our shares. And I used to get calls all the time from people asking about the company, asking about the dividends, and so on and so forth. I used to also get a lot of calls from women. And in some cases, they lost their partner. And they had no idea what a share was, or how they received payment for the shares, or where the shares were held, or even how to access bank accounts or write a check. It was pretty sobering. I want to know always what's going on with my money, where it's invested, and how it is earning me money. This was so important to me because I personally saw people struggle trying to understand concepts that sometimes take a little bit of time and don't come just overnight. You need to actually learn about them. I believe knowledge is power, and I think it behooves us as solo women who are looking after everything by ourselves to understand some of the things that impact our day-to-day and can make a huge difference in our life if we don't kind of keep track of what's going on. This isn't always financial, but finances play a big role. As women, statistically, we are apparently going to outlive our male counterparts. So when we think about saving money for retirement, it's very important that we save a little bit extra because we may end up living longer and needing our money to last a little bit longer. I've always read that it's good to plan for about 25 to 30 years of retirement. And as a woman, I would plan for the 30 years for sure. I mean, I retired at the age of 57, and 30 years brings me to the age of 87. It's not unreasonable that I could live to that age. And so when I was planning out my retirement, I always kept in mind that potentially I was going to live into my 80s. And perhaps some of that time could be spent in a long-term care facility, which costs a lot of money. So it's good to have a little bit extra saved up. Also, be aware of inflation and the role it plays on the amount of money that you save. The way I always explain this to people is by saying, when I was a young kid, when I was like, let's say 13, 12 years old, a chocolate bar was actually around 25 cents. You know, one of those big Snicker bars, it was around 25 cents. That same Snicker bar now is, I don't know, but I'm going to say it's well over $2, maybe even over $3. That's inflation. Over the years, things just cost more. And you see it everywhere, in housing, you see it in condo fees. My condo fees go up every year. So you need to factor in the fact that everything that you do is going to cost more 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And if you're not working and you don't have a pension that keeps growing with inflation, then your money could actually be shrinking. And so it's good to save a little bit extra. Be aware of financial matters. Even if you are with a partner and you're listening to this, you should know where your money is saved, how it's invested, and what those investments mean. I have seen so many comments in my comment section from women who don't understand investing, don't understand money and how money works. Money is an incredibly important thing, and anyone who tries to downplay the importance is not living in reality. We need money to be able to live our day-to-day and to have a decent retirement, and to be able to do those things that we so want to do means that we need to have savings. Now, this is exacerbated even more if we are living solo, because there is no one else to contribute. It is really up to us to make that work for ourselves. Understand your money, understand investments. People often ask me, where can I learn about investing and about investments in general and money? There are so many places. One thing I would say is be careful where you get your information from. Don't just trust some rando person on YouTube. Sure, there's a lot of great YouTubers out there that talk about investing in ETFs and talk about how to budget money and have some great information. But I think it's great to reach out to places like, here in Alberta, we have the Alberta Securities Commission, which often runs Investing 101 courses for anyone, really, workshops that are available and often free of charge. In the US, that is similar to the SEC, which is the Securities and Exchange Commission. These are government bodies, and they tend to be a little bit more objective about the types of things they're talking about, and they're not specifically pushing products. It's just general information. Also in Canada, there is, I'm just going to look this up, the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. It's FCAC. And they run programs that specifically cater to seniors and teaching seniors about investing and about investment tools and money in general. Some of the banks will also run workshops. Now, of course, banks will want to push some of their products, but in Canada, anyways, most banks have to abide by certain rules when they're teaching investment topics, and you don't need to be buying anything. Just go for the education and to learn about the different financial instruments that are out there, like the ETFs or GICs or high interest savings accounts. It's just good information. Sometimes libraries will offer workshops. In the US, I believe FINRA also offers some workshops as it pertains to money and money safety and that type of thing. There are so many resources nowadays. Do your research, talk to your banker. They will often have resources you can reach out to. Maybe call some of your community associations and that type of thing. Be proactive about learning for yourself about money. And be proactive at least giving yourself a good overview about investing. This is important. If you're solo, you're the only one looking after yourself and your money. So be proactive about learning as much as you can. Don't be scared of it. Take it one little tiny step at a time and learn what an ETF is or learn what a GIC is. Maybe once a week, pick one topic or one thing you want to learn about and spend 5-10 minutes on it and learn how it works. Be aware of investment scams that are nowadays often promoted through social media by very slick people using all kinds of AI, artificial intelligence tools that just seems so real. If it sounds too good to be true, it typically is. People that are trying to convince you to invest in stuff like cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and all kinds of weird stuff, if you don't know what you're investing in, don't invest in it. Warren Buffett, who I admire very much, was all about investing in companies where you understand what it is that they do. If you're a sophisticated investor and you have a lot of knowledge, I think at that point you can delve into all kinds of different scenarios. But for those people who are not sophisticated investors and where one doesn't really understand investing that much, I would really be wary of anything that is flocked on social media, because a lot of it is fake and it is just there to part you with your hard-earned money. It is becoming increasingly difficult to tell what's real and what's not real, especially on YouTube. I am real, I promise, but it's incredible how far AI has advanced. And there's videos out there that feel like whatever it is you're watching, it truly is real. Do your research. Honestly, especially if you're on your own, don't trust people. I hate to say this, but nowadays you just can't trust anyone. I typically do not invest outside of stock that regularly trades on a recognized stock exchange. In Canada, it's the Toronto Stock Exchange. I invest in companies that are considered blue chip. In other words, companies that are like banks or utility companies that have a long history of paying dividends, or ETFs that have been around for a while. When you're delving into something you don't understand, or when it's on YouTube or Instagram or even worse, TikTok, I would be really careful. Anyone who promises you some outrageous kind of profit or yield, that just does not exist. One of the most heartbreaking scams targeting older women and men today is not even about money at first. It's really about targeting loneliness. A lot of people who are older and alone are looking for companionship, which is such a legitimate and normal thing to want. Now, don't get me wrong, some of us enjoy very much being single and we really like it. And we're not looking for a relationship, but some of us definitely are. I would think it's probably more common for people to want a relationship, especially if they've had one before and maybe their partner has passed away or there's been a late life divorce or something like that. People are used to being in relationships. Social media and online dating tools make it so easy for unscrupulous people to exploit others, hitting them right where it counts, and using their loneliness to get to them and to bilk them eventually out of their life savings. I don't want to get too dramatic about it, but honestly, I watch YouTube. I don't watch TV, but I watch YouTube. And specifically, I enjoy 60 Minutes Australia. And I have seen so many episodes about exactly this type of thing. And the scary part is a lot of the women that are getting romance scammed aren't dumb women. They are intelligent, well-off, educated women who are lonely and they want someone in their life. And it's easy for some scammer to sound so good online. They steal someone else's picture. Sometimes they steal someone else's life story and achievements. And they make you think that you are the best thing, the most special thing in the world. They often start with small gifts or lots of praise. They love bomb you. Next thing you know, they're borrowing money and eventually they're borrowing significant sums of money. It's not hard to gaslight someone. You would think it is, and you would think that we're all immune to it because we're smart people. But the fact is there's so many of these scams that happen, and they happen to smart people. Just beware and understand that not everyone is great online. I believe that the tools that are out there are so sophisticated now. It's really hard sometimes to know what's real. Kind of like I talked about some of the financial scams that are out there. So be aware. I mean, don't live your life in fear. Be open to experiences, but be cautious. Now, I have a little anecdote because, I like giving those, but I had a friend of mine who met a guy through online dating, and she actually had him checked out by a private investigator. And a lot of people thought she was crazy, and it all worked out. He was totally legit. But you know what? I actually think that was not a bad idea, especially nowadays when it's really hard to know who's who. So that's just an anecdote. I thought it was kind of cute. And like I said, in her case, it totally worked out. Don't be afraid to go the extra mile to ensure that the people you're letting into your life are legitimate people that will not harm you either financially or even emotionally. I mean, some people emotionally are extremely taxing and wearing. Also, if it comes down to if you meet someone and you actually get into that whole living together thing after being on your own and being single, and you have financial resources, please, 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 please get a legal cohabitation agreement. You are too far along in your life to lose your money to someone else. I think by the time you're older and retired, no one should need your money. Absolutely no one. The only person who should need your money is you. So protect it, because if you lose it, You don't have a lot of time to make more back. There's nothing wrong with getting things down in writing before people move in together. Maybe some of you don't think that's very romantic. I'm sure no one will be caring about romance when things fall apart and you're arguing over who owns what. Get it down on paper and safeguard your assets. Another thing that is very important if you're retired solo is to surround yourself with a good group of people that you can draw on for help. So as an example, I'm the most useless person in the world when it comes to doing certain household tasks. I barely can screw in a light bulb. And I mean, look at it this way. I'm really good with money and I understand investments and I feel really comfortable in that whole area. But doing things around the house somehow escapes me. And even when I watch YouTube videos and watch someone doing it, I still end up messing it up. So I have a really good contractor. He is the same contractor who helped me renovate my home. And I draw on him to recommend trades like plumbers, or when I needed to get my furnace redone, changed right out, I asked for a reference from trades that he works with. I really trust him to recommend trades that are honest and that do good work. And so far, I have not been let down. I always keep these trades in a notebook so that when I need to call on people to do certain things around the house, I've got a really good core group of people that I trust, who are honest, that I can call on. This is so important. There's so many scams out there with when it comes to, let's say, redoing a roof or changing out your furnace. There's all kinds of nasty people out there trying to do bad work and just take your money. Finally, what I would say is have some safety guards in place. I live alone and there's days where I don't talk to anyone. And my sister and I were talking on the phone the other day and I said to her, you know, if I fell down the stairs, no one would know about it. Have plans in place if you live alone, even if you're healthy and everything is absolutely perfect. Have some plans in place that ensure that you've got some kind of a communication with someone who is there for you on a regular basis so that if you don't reach out, they know something is wrong. It's so easy, especially for introverts, to get into a headspace where you kind of think you don't need anyone. You're very self-sufficient. I tend to be like that. This is like my thing. I tend to think that I can look after everything. I don't need anyone. The fact is, if something happens, you do need a support network, and you should have plans in place that you can draw on if something happens, be it health-wise or financially or in whatever way. All right, this is all I have this week. Now, I know this video was a little bit more serious and some people may think it was broaching topics that perhaps are a little bit more negative, but I think it's important to share as single retired women our tips and our tricks for navigating retirement on our own. I would love to hear some of your tips, some of your tricks in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will see you all next week at our regular time. Bye.